I've heard beforehand that a lot of people have some side effects, so I was expecting them too, and I got them. Today I'm gonna tell you about how I got vaccinated. I don't trust anyone. I think it has something to do with politics. I don't trust Putin. I don't trust what media is saying. Hello internet, this is Irina, the Siberian who's gone international. And today I'm gonna tell you about how I got vaccinated. Yeah, vaccinated. Against the coronavirus. As you all know, for the last 12 months we've been in a pandemic which has affected the lives of all of us quite significantly. And somehow over the last 12 months I did manage not to catch the virus. Even though I did travel a little bit, here you can see the video about my trip to Spain in August. But I guess in Finland we had a rather mild version of the pandemic, so it was quite easy, I guess, not to catch it. And I wasn't walking around that much while I was in Finland, so I guess this is how I managed to avoid it. Just like all of you, I'm pretty tired by now of all the limitations we have because of coronavirus. Also, I got really tired of being paranoid of giving it to my parents. So I was one of those who wanted to get vaccinated as soon as possible, by any means possible. And also I've heard that even if you have a mild version of it, it can affect your smell and taste for a few more months or longer. Also, some people say that they feel like their cognitive abilities have been affected, and that is actually what scared me the most. So I decided that if I managed to run from it for the last 12 months, it makes sense for me to get vaccinated and not get it at all. So, as some of you know, I live in Finland, but I also have a Russian citizenship, and Russia was one of those countries which managed to develop one of the vaccines which are available on the market right now. And at first, many people were pretty skeptical about that vaccine, but now, since even the Lancet journal confirmed that it looks good, I think that it makes total sense to get it if you have a chance to. So in January I went to Russia. Actually, it wasn't my main reason for going. About my main reason you can hear in this video. But anyway, I was planning to get the vaccine as soon as possible either way. So I went and started chasing the vaccine. I mean, it's not like super easy to get it, but it's possible. You just need to put in a bit of effort. So there is a bot in Telegram which tells you which clinics in St. Petersburg, because I was vaccinating in St. Petersburg, have the vaccines available. And then you have to call them, schedule a time, come there, and that's basically it. So it took me like a day to book an appointment, and luckily I had this insurance paper, the local one. So I went there, like I showed them my passport, this insurance paper, and they gave me a shot. The whole procedure is really nothing special. They just give you some medical questionnaire asking generic questions about your health. Then they give you a shot, then they ask you to sit in the hallway for like 20-30 minutes to make sure that you don't have an allergic reaction, and if you feel fine, you're free to go. I've heard beforehand that a lot of people have some side effects, so I was expecting them too, and I got them. Approximately, I don't know, 5-7 hours after the vaccination, so in the evening, I started having a fever. I was in Airbnb, so I didn't have any thermometer with me, so I couldn't really measure it. But it felt like, I don't know, it felt below 38. So I don't think it was super high. I have a friend who had it above 39, but it was like short term. Like she felt weird. I mean, she had a fever for a couple of hours and then she got totally back to normal. I had a fever for, I don't know, maybe like 20 hours, because I remember I woke up the next day and I still had a feverish feeling. And then my brother took me to some national park. I really didn't feel like going, but I still managed to. And by the time I got home, I was already feeling totally fine. So I believe it's a really small price to pay for getting immunity against coronavirus. But it's not the end of the story. As you know, the most annoying part about this vaccine is that it's not enough to get just one shot. You have to get two, because if you get only one, it will not be that efficient. If I read and understood it correctly, The first one gives you some immunity, but it's a pretty short term, similar to the one that you're getting if you get coronavirus yourself and then, survive it and develop some antibodies. And then the second shot kind of prolongs the immunity. Do not quote me, I'm not completely sure it works this way, but if I understood it right, the second shot makes your immunity last much longer, and in order for it to work 100%, you need 2. So I was waiting for 3 weeks, and 3 weeks later, I came back to the clinic. A little funny side story. When I was getting the first shot, my doctor told me that I should not drink for 2 months. And I was actually really trying to comply. So in the last, 5 weeks, I didn't have any drinks except 2 glasses of wine, which I actually had like 2 weeks after the first shot. But I think that doctor was really exaggerating. I heard later that the regular recommendation is not to drink like 3 days before and 3 days after. But I thought also that it's not a high price to pay not to drink for a couple of months to make sure that your body will have enough resources to build a proper immunity. So I did it that way. You're free to decide how do you want to deal with that yourself. When it was the time to get the second shot, the procedure was pretty much the same. You come to the clinic, you fill out the questionnaire, they give you a shot, ask you to sit there for like 20 minutes, and then you can go home. By the way, injecting that vaccine is a bit painful. Not from piercing the skin, but the moment when they start injecting that liquid, you do feel a little pain, but it's totally tolerable. And again, a very small price to pay. And after the second shot, I was curious whether I will get any side effects, and I didn't get any. Like, my shoulder was a bit sore for maybe a day or 2, but that's it. I didn't even get the fever, even though some people report that they have fever after the second shot too. A couple of days later, I actually got sick, and I was a little bit paranoid because I had to go and meet my parents rather soon. But I was pretty sure that it's not corona because it was mostly the runny nose and like teary eyes and no typical corona symptoms. And my guess was right because soon enough I was crossing the Finnish border where they do the COVID-19 test, and it confirmed that I'm negative, so it was just like some random cold which has nothing to do with corona. And now I'm so happy because actually the pandemic is over for me, sort of. I mean, yeah, a lot of countries still have their restrictions, but at least I can be sure that I will not have serious consequences from this unpredictable disease. I'm not that paranoid about infecting some vulnerable people with it, and I hope that as more and more people are getting vaccinated, we will soon be able to turn this page. I'm still fighting with the authorities to get the official certificate that I've been vaccinated. I'm like ready to tattoo it on my forehead so that I could start traveling again and go back to the normal life. But I don't know, in Moscow they give you this official paper with stamps and signatures. In St. Petersburg, they just gave me some random A4 paper where the doctor like signed it, but it doesn't look presentable at all. And now I'm trying to get the electronic certificate, which I hope will be accepted worldwide, and I will not have to get revaccinated again with another vaccine. I'm pretty sure that the EU will eventually approve the Sputnik V or Sputnik V. I'm not sure, still not sure what is the correct name. Also, I guess I should mention the downside that even though Russia is one of the countries which now have the vaccine available for everyone who is willing to get vaccinated, there is not that many people willing to. And this is the result of how Russian propaganda works, because they tell a lot of bullshit and people are used to not trust it. And then when the Russian scientists manage to come up with something good with the vaccine against the virus, which is really affecting all our lives, Russian propaganda decided to use it as a weapon, and they started advertising it left and right. And because people are used to not trust it, they are very suspicious towards this vaccine. And it's so frustrating to hear this point of view even from the people I personally know who are saying that, I'm quoting, I don't trust anyone, I think it has something to do with politics, I don't trust Putin, I don't trust what media is saying, I don't trust the West. I just hope that they will not force me to get this vaccine in order to travel around and work. And if it goes this way, I will do everything I can to get this medical paper which proves that I have a reason to not get vaccinated. I am personally against forcing people to get vaccinated against their will, even though anti-vaxxers are the people I have very little respect for. But I still don't think that anyone should be forced to get the vaccine. But I think that these vaccination passports are a very good solution, because this way, yes, nobody will be forcing you to get vaccinated against your will, but it's pretty logical that if you are willing to be the person who might spread the disease, you might have some restrictions for traveling and so on. I think it sounds pretty fair and logical, and we don't really have much choice here. I mean, there are different reasons against vaccination, and one of them is that this vaccine is rather new and we don't know what its long-term effect. But first of all, the mechanism of developing vaccines is pretty old. I mean, it's not the first vaccine developed by humankind. Second of all, what choice do we have? We can either get infected with a disease, the long-term effects of which we also don't know. And on top of that, if we don't do anything about this now, then even bigger percentage of our population will die. So for me, the choice is pretty clear, and I volunteered to be a guinea pig. I was one of the first ones to get vaccinated, I believe, because I think in most countries, the percentage of people who are vaccinated is pretty low by now. In Finland, they started vaccinating the older people. For example, my dad got a vaccine, my mom hasn't gotten it yet, but she's also planning to go to Russia and get it. By the way, if you're a young person who cannot wait to get vaccinated, I guess there is a way, because in Moscow, in the shopping malls, they vaccinate even the foreigners, so you will not need a Russian passport or that insurance paper that I told you about earlier. So if you are like super desperate and you can find a way to get to Russia, because Russia has some borders opened with some countries, or maybe you have a Russian wife or Russian husband, so you can enter the country based on that relationship. So that's one of the ways for you to get a vaccine earlier than it will be your turn in your country. Because I think that if I was waiting for my turn here, I'm not sure, but probably I would get it only by autumn or in the autumn, I don't know. Anyway, I'm pretty happy with my choice. After 2 shots, I'm feeling great. I'm gonna do the test to see if I have antibodies in about a week or 2. I guess I will publish the results on my Instagram, so please follow if you don't. And thank you for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Wishing you to get vaccinated as soon as possible. Bye!